I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Much like everyone else, I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore town in it, until I noticed out of my peripheral vision, I don't know how to say that the mailman had arrived to put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and notes. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realised it was from my dear friend Cal. Let's just call him Rat, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know because I recognised his handwriting, though what was weird is that it looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Carl was having a hard time writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is where I wrote, Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of it thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. If you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this God-forsaken disc before he comes after you. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please, Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that simple game just would do anything to bad time. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc and it says Orange CDR disc. It said it had black marker on it. It written Sonic.exe, and it was too much unlike Carl's handwriting. Mean that must have gotten somewhere else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of CD, was actually excited. I wanted to play it since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went to my room, turned on my computer, and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was Sonic game. I was like awesome because I said earlier I like classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start, there was a split second when I saw the title turn into something different. Now the consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like. It was a split before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title ended, the rusted and ruined. Sega's 1991 was now Sega 666, and the water had turned red. But the freakiest thing in the split scene was Sonic's. His eyes, pitch black and bleeding, with two glowing red dots staring right at me, as his smile stretched wider to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about the image. I saw it though. I figured it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed there for about 10 seconds or so, and then another weird thing happened. The save files from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up, and I was like, what's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The background was dark, cloudy, and bad stardust level from Sonic CD, and there were only 3 save files. The music was Creepy Caverns of Winter from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have it in reverse, and the image of where you see the preview level is your just red status of all 3 files. What freaked me out the most was the character. It only showed Tails, Knuckles, and surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Dr. Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realised that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yes, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared, or at least tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong with it. But anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Tails. And when I got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds. I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded awful, like the Kefka from Final Fantasy being cut into black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. It showed typical level title, except with different shades of red in texture. Only Hill Act 1. The screen faded in and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the green hill zone from Sonic 1. The was different though. It sounded like peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and I had Tails running like you would do in any classic Sonic game. What was odd is that Tails was running for a long time. There was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into deep tones very slowly as I kicked one. So I saw something and I stopped to see what it was. One of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down and Tails had a shocked and sudden look on his face that I never saw him have before. So he moved along and he kept that more and more worried as the music lowers, and he moves past the more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree, which appeared to have its tail hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off. A duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach. When I saw this massacre, apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there was no more animals and seemed to just have... I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute, I passed after the music stopped. Tails was running up a hill when he stopped. Wasn't until I saw Sonic on the with his back against Tails. He closed his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but when he smiled away, noticed that Sonic wasn't responding to him. If not acting, if he was totally oblivious of Tails at present. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic and noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to be a cutscene. Suddenly I began growing feel dread of Tails walking closer to Sonic. His attention felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard a faint static growing louder. As Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stuck his hand out to touch him. That's forbidden my gut. I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open. They were black with those red glowing dots. Like the title image, though, there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the title screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then the white text appeared saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but got the better when difficulty levels now said hide and seek. This time I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made a frantic gesture to me as if I wanted to get out of the area. He was as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the 4th wall, trying to tell me to get out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I can to made him run. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow in ARK as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2. Playing as I made Tails trek through the desolated forest, trying to help him escape whatever he was running from. Suddenly I heard a creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping up everywhere on the screen with those black and red eyes. The music changes, then a jingle as I see Sonic behind me slowly getting up him flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose of his spirit looked very similar to Metal Sonic's pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic and the back only. This time, he had only deranged grin, looked like he was enjoying tournament. He was given the feeling. It was the drowning theme when Sonic nearly drowns. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene music stopped and Sonic vanished. He laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. Then there was this upsetting to watch. I kinda teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails looked at me now. Blood started coming out of the blackened end of Sonic and grin from his face as he looked down at the horrified thoughts. I couldn't do anything but watch. Just a split scene, Sonic lunged at Tails right at me. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned. This time you're too slow. Want to try again? And there was that god-awful laugh that came of it. I was so shocked about what happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, it couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why would Sonic do that to him? As the shock as I was brought back to character select, the file that was Tails was different. Tails no longer had inbox, and the TV screen itself, which was flickering, had red light. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face, trying to ignore it. I picked Tails up. The level came again. You screen cut out black and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time it said you can't run. I was really freaked out now. I could really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick twisted joke or anything. Despite my fear of what happened, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of Scrap Brain Zone, but the background looked like the main menu, the dark reddish cloud sky, but it was the music that creeped me out. The most it sounded like the Jiggles theme out of You Beat Pokey in Earthbound. So I noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails, but though not as much. Rather, he looked a little nervous. He broke the fourth wall, just like Tails, and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight path in the dark level as if he started to flicker static, and a couple of times, and then Madeline laugh came again. And then after a few seconds of running, I noticed the metallic ground. I felt fear again. Something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseous, walking down the blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, a Sonic appeared right with those black and red eyes, and then red Stacky appeared. When Sonic vanished, but showing nothing but black screen with text saying "Found you," I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already. What was going on? And anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked around. He was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched scream from Silent Hill's one final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it was. It wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles. What was pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punched Sonic, but Sonic vanished in a backward space smoke before I could even land the hit. That terrified laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles. Then I made him punch again. Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and then I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. For another cutscene, Knuckles fell on his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt angry. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then in a split, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted at least 3 seconds. Another text appeared. So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree? What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think that I was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I brought back the main menu, and the second final box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish grey. His deadlocks were dripping with blood and were black and bleeding too, and he looked of a sadness on his face. I began to think that those are two actual trapped in the TV screen on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it, so I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap, wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing night. I was in a pitch black darkness, though it was under a light gave off by a lamp that hung above my head. I could hear cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us, why did you give us to them, and run away before he gets you too." Their cries died out as loud as I heard Sonic's laugh. His laugh, it sounded a lot like the disturbing Kev laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid, just like your friend Kyle," though he didn't last long. What was scary was about the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me, I saw him bleeding black and red, grinning face. I woke up with a fright after a couple of hours. I decided playing the game. I don't know. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky and playing as Robotnik, but the level title appeared again, and this time it said, which I found was really freaky. This time I was in a hallway of some kind of. I didn't really look like it was from any classic song game. Really, it had a pixel it started. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were darkest greyish. The purple animated candlelights and a few dark bloodstains here. And there are a dark red curtain hanging above on top of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain swells very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly present as a piano as a rather yet peaceful song, but I was better. This song that played at one, only it was reversed. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, if he was just a bit paranoid. A little animation when I just saw him. He turns his head to the left and goes to the right at least twice and shrugs at me as if he had no idea what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onwards. He did usual running animation, the one where you beam me at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him. As we continued going through the hallway, then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downwards. I was so nervous, even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself. I pressed down and led Robotnik down the stairs. I noticed that the walls had gotten darker and reddish. The torches are now eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down to another flight of stairs. This one was much longer, took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard the horrid Kefka laugh again. Then the music slowly faded until it was quiet as the walls turned more dark red and torches were black flame now. When Robotnik landed on the third hallway, I noticed that he looked really creeped out, though he was trying to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped up right in front of Robotnik, where he did the red side. The red side lasted for about 15 seconds and showed a more unpleasant area. The image showed a hyperview of Sonic's face in the darkness, where you only see his face and his head torso faded in black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean it looked so real you could actually see the lines of blue fur. as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, it had to be the most horrifying smile I had ever seen, and that's something considering I saw, which also looked really hyper. His eyes are wide and black, and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic, and there were 2 small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my... His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face, like Cheshire Cat expects. Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious, somewhat yellowish, and the look of it had stained blood and small bit of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he hates some animal. I stared at the gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt like he was going to smile, actually looking and smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the kef go off, except this time it was more distorted demonic. It was back to the image, except the text was messed up. It pretty much horrifying. I looked at the game and it said, "I am God." It was when I read that message while looking at Sonic, it hit me. I realised then Sonic was a monster, a pure evil static of nightmarish demonic monster, and that all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik and possibly Cow, are just his little toys. This game is a getaway contentious. And this time get away with his cathartic nightmare word hell ripped him trap. Suddenly it actually is split second and screamed. Sonic has lunged at the screen, screeching loudly, his mouth wide open, unveiled length, and literally spiral a the abyss of pure darkness before the static came again. This time it was much louder instead. It hurt my ears, visiting for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped showing me nothing but my I sat there staring at the bad screen and last time I said, "Ready for round 2, Tom? Be careful I sound more clearly," as the Sonic was right behind me. Play again 3 times as I looked at the testers. I got booted in the back to the mail. In the Thursday file TV image of the same tournament as Tails and Knuckles and Robotnik. The skin turned dull grey, his moustache drooped, and back his glasses were broken and blood coming from them. It had made dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles and and Robotnik and cried a pitted for anger. They're going through. They were trapped within the game forever, tormented by the horrid hedgehog animals. The computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it around no matter what I did. I said for maybe 25 seconds. Sonic is very inborn and evil. He tortures people who play this game and weighs when he gets bored. He drags you into the game, which will drag you to hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. I sat there for 25 seconds. I heard a voice behind me, like a whisper. "Try to keep this entertaining for me, Tom." I turned around when I saw the voice. It made me sitting on my bed and staring at me. It was a Sonic Bush smiling with blood stained under his eyes. I hope you guys enjoyed that little creepypasta. This took forever to make, and I'll see you all next time. Sorry if I creeped you out or ruined your day. Bye.